Shiva Shukana Say, go ho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Sri Vasudhara Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Sri Radha Krishna Kupa Krishna Samakun Radha Kun Gurma Ki Jai. Pradama Dhamma Ki Jai. Mathura Dhamma Ki Jai. Advaita Dhamma Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dhamma Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Yamamaya Ki Jai. Gungamaya Ki Jai. Samvekta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Prahlada Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Bhagavad Gita class. Start introduction prayer, page 1. Omajanya Tramandasya Gyana Jana Shalakya Shaktumitam Yena Tasme Shugurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kara Mayam Dadati Swapati Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapada Kamalam Shri Guna Vaishnavascha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunanavitam Tasavjivam Sarvetam Sadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Pada Saha Gana Lalita Sri Vishka Vasvitam Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bando Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapa Kanchana Gorangi Rade Vindasvasvare Vispanu Sute Devi Pranamame Hare Priye Panchakapatara Payasacha Kripa Sindhu Vayas Evacha Patitanam Pavani Bayo Vaishnavaya Bayo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadhar Shri Vasti Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we are on chapter 6, Sankhya Yoga. Today we're starting out with verses text 11 through 12 to begin with. Sacho deshe patishapya chitram asnyam atmana nati uchitritam natit nicham chalejina kushotaram tatrikargram mana kritva yatta chitindriya kriya upivasya shane yunyat jayat Yogamatma Vishnu Dudaya Aihaye. Translation: to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusu grass on the ground, then cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high nor too low and should be situated in a sacred place. Yogis should then sit and on it very firmly and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart, and fixing the mind on one point. Text 13 and 14. Samakaya Sriro Grivam Darayan Achalam Srihitra Samprikshasya Nachishkaram Swam Dishas Chanavalakoyan Prasantatma Vikatapir Brahmachari Vrati Shihita Manasamyam Yamachito Yukta Shita Matpara. Translation: one should hold one's body, neck, and head erect in a straight line and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Text 15. Yujanivam saratmanam yogi nityate manasya satyam nirvana paramam matsamsitam adhijate. Translation: thus practicing control of the body, mind, and activities, the mystic transcendentalist attains to the kingdom of God, or the abode of Krishna, by cessation of material existence. Text 16. Naryashinatas tu yogasti na chaikanatam anashnata na chaita swapna shilasya jagrato naiva karjuna. Translation: there is no possibility of one becoming a yogi, O Arjuna, if one eats too much or sleeps or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Text 17. Yuktara viharasya yukta chetasya karmashu kuta swanapava bodhasya yoga bhavati dukkha. He who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Text 18. Yada vinasvatam chittam atmani eva patishati nispraha sarva kambe bayo yukta iti uchayate tada. Translation: when the yogi, by practice of yoga, disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to have attained yoga. Text 19. Yata bitipo nidbatasto nigate sopama smrita yogina yata chitasya yujato yogam atmana. Translation: as a lamp in the windless place does not waver, so does the transcendentalist whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Text 20 through 23. Yatro paramate chittam niradam yoga sevaha yatra chaivat manam pashyan atmani tushyati sukham atyatikam yatad buddhi gramyam atidrayam iti yatra na chaivayam Sititas chalati tavata yam labdava karpanam labham manyate nidhikam tata yasham shito na dukina guru napi vichalate tam vidyad dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga sam ijitnam Samyitnam. Translation: The stage of perfection is called trance or samadhi, when one mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that, the joyous state one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness and enjoys himself through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This is indeed in actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact. Returning to texts 11 and 12. Translation. To practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusa grass on the ground, then cover it with a deerskin and soft cloth. The seat should never be too high nor too low, and should be situated in a sacred place. The yogi should then sit on it firmly, and should practice yoga by controlling the mind and the senses, purifying the heart, and fixing the mind on one point. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Sacred place refers to places of pilgrimage. In India, the yogis, the transcendentalists, or the devotees all leave home and reside in sacred places such as Prayag, Mathura, Vrindavan, Harisheka, and Hardwar. In solitude practice yoga where the sacred rivers like Yamuna and the Ganges flow. But often this is not possible, especially for Westerners. The so-called yoga societies in big cities may be successful in earning material benefits, but they are not at all suitable for the actual practice of yoga. One who is not self-controlled and whose mind is not undisturbed cannot practice meditation. Therefore, in the Naradiya Purana, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, the present yuga or age, when people in general are short-lived, slow in spiritual realization, and always disturbed by various anxieties, the best means of spiritualization is chanting the holy name of the Lord. Harir Nama, Harir Nama, Harir Namavaya, Kevaladam, Kalu Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Naste, Eva Gatir, Enyata. In this age of quarrel, the hypocrisy, the only one means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There's no other way. There's no other way. There's no other way. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. As you see by the report here, the Eightfold Mystic Yoga System, is recommended to go to a sacred place of pilgrimage. But here in the present day, in the age of Kali, this is pretty hard to do nowadays. As I was mentioning yesterday in class, that finding a sacred place or secluded place can be difficult these days, especially here in the West. How does one practice yoga here in the West? You go find a secluded place somewhere. You have to think about hauling water and food out there and, making a small shelter, to get through the elements. And you got the wild animals to worry about. Out here in America, we got bears, coyotes, wolves, just snakes, all kinds of bugs. Yeah. But it's very hard to do that in this day and age in the Kali Yuga. We don't have, hundreds of years to get our yoga meditation perfected. We have less. Generally, most of us have less than 100 years to live. So time is always against us because we're racing, basically racing to our death. This is where it mentions here that the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the best prescribed way in the age of Kali. All these other ways, all these other mystic yoga practices, Ornita Ki Jai, they're not recommended in this age. Most of us can't even keep up with can't even perfect one yoga practice, let alone 8 of them. But devotional service, bhakti yoga, that's what's recommended. Here especially here in ISKCON, we have Srila Prabhupada that has helped design such a wonderful program for us, where we're always engaged in remembering the Lord. The time we get up in the morning and show up early for Mangalarti, to japa meditation, doing our 16 rounds a day, keeping up with our vows, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. I knew I was forgetting one somewhere. Then we also have, service. Fill ourselves with all kinds of service. I mean, it's such a wonderful program here. Here we have Gornitai, the deities. We have God right here in the temple. We're all of his servants. Everything revolving around in this temple is revolving around Gornitai. Everything that we do. We offer meals to Gornitai every day. Gornitai gets bathed every day. Gornitai gets dressed every day. In Gornitai's house, this is his home. So it gets cleaned every day. So everything is revolving around serving Gornitai, the deities. That's our focus. Everything that we do here. And we also have Harinam we go out on. So we can try to go out and rescue even more souls, more jivas that are lost in this material world. Especially here in America, everyone's so indulged in, lost in indulging in their senses, sense gratification. We have sense gratification on demand with the modern day internet. You go to swipe on your phone, TikTok videos and YouTube videos and Facebook and just sense gratification on demand. If you don't, if something's not interesting you can just swipe. Oh, there's something cool. Okay, it's already boring. Swipe. Oh, there's something cool again. Sense gratification on demand. It's interesting because our skill sets here in America has gone way downhill. It used to be before the age of, before TV was, big and popular, before the internet was popular, people actually had hobbies. People actually developed skills. You actually grew up having some skills in life, having some hobbies. And now with the sense gratification on demand, very, very few even know how to cook these days. Very few growing up, not knowing how to cook. How can you make it through life not knowing how to cook for yourself? That just baffles me. But so many are growing up that way. Basic skills are being lost. Does someone have a question on there? Okay. Well, yeah, that's the whole point of this system, because we're trying to wake people up, get them shaken awake, saying you are not this body. All these sense gratifications you're going after, it's an empty happiness. You know, just about the time you catch that bit of happiness, poof, it's gone. Wow, that was fast. Oh, there's another bit of happiness. Boom, I got it. Poof, it's gone. Ah, it gets tiring after a while, you know, catching that happiness and poof, it's gone. Catching it again, poof, it's gone. Every time you get the little bit of happiness, it disappears. It happens so fast. It's a fleeting moment. Material world is so much of an illusion that there's not a single thing that you could grab a hold of in this world and say, this is going to bring me happiness for the rest of my life. Not a single thing. Nothing. You get momentary happiness and poof, it's gone. It's a depreciating return. You know, you go out and watch your favorite movie. Yeah, you get some enjoyment out of it. Watch it 1,000 times. You can't stand it after a while. You've seen it so too many times. It's a depreciating return in happiness. Same thing with eating your favorite food. You know, you can have it so many times before you're like, oh, do I have to have that again? It's a depreciating return. Everything in this material world, it's a depreciating return in happiness. You'll always have to switch to, find another scheme, find something else to bring you a little bit of joy and enjoyment. And we have so many celebrities out there, people who have made it with name, fame, wealth, and prestige. That should, because there's a lot of people that think that, gee, if I just had enough money, I could be happy for the rest of my life. But here's the problem, we have so many celebrities that's done this. And one of the first things they get involved in and caught up into is drugs and alcohol, because all that wealth and all that fame and all that prestige, well, that's still not good enough. So they're turning to drugs and alcohol for a little bit more happiness. And that becomes a vice. That becomes a poison. Bhakti yoga is something that, at first, devotional service can seem very bitter. Because we're so used to enjoying our material senses. Millions of lifetimes of enjoying our material senses. That quick dose of happiness that disappears. The Bhakti Yoga devotional service is a complete opposite. Where the material world, everything seems sweet at first, but eventually becomes bitter in the long run. Bhakti Yoga seems bitter at first, but becomes sweet. You stick to it and let it grow. Becomes so sweet, chanting the holy names, doing your service, doing your seva. You're patient enough and keep up with your sadhana. That bitterness goes away and everything turns to nectar and everything becomes, oh, so sweet. And it sticks with you. It's not like this material world where you're just about the time you catch that happiness, it disappears. No, this grows with you in Bhakti Yoga. Just grows greater and greater. Gradually, grows sweeter and sweeter over time. And the lovely thing about it, you don't lose it. When you die, even if you're not fully purified and, go back straight to Krishna, you get to come back as a human again and continue on your devotional path. It's something that grows and sticks with you. Unfortunately, the material world doesn't do that. You can go out and try to accumulate all the wealth in the world, become the richest person. When death comes, the wealth stays here. Can't take it with you. You go out, become the world's smartest person, go to college, get multiple degrees, spend your life in the universities, and get the Nobel Peace Prize for something. When in the end, death comes for you. All that knowledge, all the intelligence that you had gathered, well, you can't take that with you. It stays here. There's not a single thing in this material world that you can grab a hold of and take it with you. It all stays here. So that's why I always say that we got to invest our time. Time is an asset. We got to invest our time in the proper things. If we're continually investing in the material world, then we're always going to be coming back to this material world over and over and over again. We are creating our own suffering, trying to indulge in our senses. We're creating karmic action, the reaction of our deeds. In many ways, we're our own worst enemies when we're trying to indulge in our own senses, trying to gratify our senses, trying to find happiness in this material world. Because many times we're creating our own hell. We're creating our own suffering. The only way to counteract that is devotional service. Because material senses, we're being chained to this world by indulging in them. All this karmic reaction that you get, it's just a guarantee you're going to come back lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But devotional service, that's breaking free of those chains. Through devotional service to Krishna, you begin to break these chains in the material world and begin to wrap yourself in ropes of love around Krishna. Because the more that you give yourself to Krishna, the more you surrender, the more you give yourself to Krishna, the more that Krishna is surrendering and giving himself to you. You want to conquer Krishna, you have to do it through pure loving and devotion. Pure love and devotion. Sounds so easy, doesn't it? But here's a catch, what is love? We get caught up, in sometimes these simple words. But to understand love, you must understand Krishna, because, God is love. We only know this perverted form of love here in this world. It's so overused these days. People will be like, oh, I love my new car. Oh, I love this television show. So in many ways, we don't know what true love is, what real love is. And we can only figure that out through pure devotional service to Krishna, surrendering to a guru, following his instructions. Move on to the next verse, text 13 and 14. One should hold holds one body, neck, and head erect in a straight line, and stare steadily at the tip of the nose. Thus, with the unagitated, subdued mind, devoid of fear, completely free from sex life, one should meditate upon me within the heart and make me the ultimate goal of life. Purport. The goal of life is to know Krishna, who is situated within the heart of every living being as Paramatma, the four-handed Vishnu form. The yoga process is practiced in order to discover and see this localized form of Vishnu, and not for any other purpose. The localized Vishnu Murti is the plenary representation of Krishna, dwelling within one's heart. One who has no program to realize this Vishnu Murti is uselessly engaged in mock yoga practice and is certainly wasting his time. Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and the Vishnu Murti situated in one's heart is the object of yoga practice. To realize this, the Vishnu Murti within the heart, one has to observe complete abstinence from sex life. Therefore, one has to leave home and live alone in a secluded place, remaining seated as mentioned above. One cannot enjoy sex life daily at home or elsewhere and attend a so-called yoga class and thus become a yogi. One has to practice controlling the mind and avoiding all kinds of sense gratification, at which sex life is the chief. And the rules of celibacy written in the great sage Yajnavalkya, it is said, Karmana manasya vacha sarvash vasyatashu sarvada sarvatra maituhuna tayago brahmacharyam prachakatashti. The vow of brahmacharya is meant to help one completely abstain from sex indulgence and work, words, and mind at all times, under the circumstances and in all places. No one can perform correct yoga practice through sex indulgence. Brahmacharya is taught, therefore, from childhood, when one has no knowledge of sex life. Children at the age of 5 are sent to the Gurukula, or the place of the spiritual master, and the master trains the young boys in the strict discipline of becoming brahmacharis. Without such practice, no one can make the advancement in any yoga, whether it be dhyana, yagna, or bhakti. One who, however, follows the rules and regulations of married life, having sexual relationships only with his wife, and that also under regulation, is also called brahmachari. Such a restrained householder, brahmachari, may be accepted in the bhakti school, but the jnana and the dhyana schools do not admit even householder brahmacharis. They require complete abstinence without compromise. In the bhakti school, a householder brahmachari is allowed controlled sex life because the cult of bhakti yoga is so powerful that one automatically loses sexual attraction, being engaged in the superior service of the Lord. The Bhagavad Gita is said, Vishaya vinivartanti narasya ihani rasa varjam raso api asya param visva nivate. Nivartate. Yep. Whereas others are forced to restrain themselves from sense gratification, a devotee of the Lord automatically refrains because of superior taste. Other than the devotee, no one has any information of that superior taste. Vigata bihi, one cannot be fearless unless one is fully in Krishna consciousness. Conditioned soul is fearful due to his perverted memory, his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Bhagavatam says, Vayam Divitya Vishtaha Chiyat Ishad Apishtasya Vipareyo Trimiti. Krishna consciousness is the only basis for fearlessness. Therefore, perfect practice is possible for a person who is Krishna conscious. And since the ultimate goal of yoga practice is to see the Lord within, a Krishna conscious person is already the best of all yogis. The principle of yoga system as mentioned herein are different from those of the popular so-called yoga societies. So as it's saying here, practice real yoga, true yoga, one has to be abstinent from sex life. Boy, here in America, everything is so sexualized. You know, you turn on the TV, man, the commercials, the TV programs, the movies, the music. Yeah, it's all extremely sexualized. No wonder everyone's so horny here in America. Everyone's indulging in sex life in America. It's very unfortunate because it's producing unwanted progeny. People are just wanting the sense gratification. So what do they have now? They have abortion, you know, as a form of birth control. Sad thing. Very sad thing. But true yogis, one has to remain abstinent. One has to control his sex desire. No way to make spiritual advancement by indulging in your sex life. Text 15. Thus, practicing control of the body, mind, and of activities, the mystic transcendentalist attains to the kingdom of God, or the abode of Krishna, by sensation of material existence. Purport. The ultimate goal in practicing yoga is now clearly explained. Yoga practice is not meant for attaining any kind of material facility. It is to enable the cessation of all material existence. One who seeks an improvement in health or aspires after material perfection is no yogi according to Bhagavad Gita. Nor does cessation of material existence entail one's entering into the void, which is only a myth. There is no void anywhere within the creation of the Lord. Rather, that the sensation of material existence enables one to enter into the spiritual sky, the abode of the Lord. The abode of the Lord is also clearly described in the Bhagavad Gita as that place where there is no need of sun, moon, or electricity. All the planets in the spiritual kingdom are self-illuminated like the sun in the material sky. The kingdom of God is everywhere, but the spiritual sky and the planets thereof are called Brahman Dhamma, or superior abodes. A consummate yogi who is perfect in understanding Lord Krishna, as is clearly stated herein, mat chitta, mat para, mat sahitam. By the Lord himself can attain real peace and can ultimately reach his superior abode, the Krishna Loka known as Goluka, Vrindavan. In the Brahma Samhita it is clearly stated, Goluka eva nishvasyate akilatam atma uta, that the Lord, although residing always in his abode called Goloka, is the all-pervading Brahman and the localized Paramatma, as well by a dint of his superior spiritual energies. No one can reach the spiritual sky or enter into this internal abode of Vaikuntha, Goloka, Vrindavan, of the Lord without proper understanding of Krishna and his plenary expansions, Vishnu. Therefore, a person working in Krishna consciousness is a perfect yogi because his mind is always absorbed in Krishna activities. Save mana Krishna paradavnidaya. In the Vedas also we learn tameva viti vityam iti. One can overcome the path of birth and death only by understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, perfection of the yoga system is the attainment of freedom from material existence and not some magical jugglery or gymnastic feats to be full, innocent people. Yes, yoga is taught all over America. You know, this yoga that all involves in stretching. There's a lot of yoga studios, a lot of self-proclaimed gurus all over America. And it's basically, they're just, you know, teaching an exercise. They're not teaching real yoga. Some even, I've seen even some Hatha yoga studios, you know, teaching breathing exercises. It's like I said, it's just exercise. You know, you go and pay someone to be a guru, teach you a little bit of yoga, exercise. Because it's not about material. Here in America, it's not about restraining one's senses. So many ways people are paying perfectly good money to be cheated. Any questions or comments so far? We've got a few minutes left of class. Text 16. There's no possibility of one becoming a yogi or Arjuna. If one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There's no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuff is considered to be in the mode of goodness, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bunjanti te tva agham papa ye pachanti atma karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself, not offering his food to Krishna, eats only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection of yoga practice. Nor can one who artificially abstains from eating manufacture his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required, and he is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours out of 24 hours is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu.
I think that it's funny. Actually, I'm gonna use. Can I use yours? This one doesn't work that well. I was gonna say that I think it's interesting that we were just talking about a yogi today and how he's supposed to be the guru of the world, and he doesn't talk anything about celibacy. Well, he does, but it's not as stressed as much as, Prabhupada does. But this yogi, he's definitely full of baloney, because he says that every demigod is God themselves. So you should just worship the demigods instead of worshiping Krishna or even Shiva. He's a big proponent of Shiva, but he doesn't recommend anybody worship him like exclusively. So I was just thinking about that when we were talking about how the yogis nowadays, they're not really very serious.
Yeah, a lot of people prefer getting cheated these days because they want to go to the yogis that's going to tell them what they want to hear. It's like preaching, to people that, telling them what they want to hear, and you get nice donations. You tell them exactly what they want to hear. Yeah, you don't need to, succumb to, worship one particular over the other. You don't need to worship Krishna or Shiva or, just worship the demigods. Oh yeah, that's kind of, gratifying because, they'll people worship the demigods for wealth and this and that, and, trying to get all these material benedictions through going through to the demigods. Yeah, you're just telling them what they want to hear. So people these days, people like to get cheated. People are used to getting cheated. But if you want not to be cheated, you got to go through a bona fide system. You got to go through a bona fide param system. I think that's our time for today. Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai.